Good morning, folks. Thanks for hopping on. Give everybody a minute or so to get onto the call. So folks were signed up for the call today, so give them a few minutes to hop over from their other meetings. While some folks are hopping on, just as a reminder, today's webinar is for local governments and service providers that provide education and outreach. So if you are a producer, this call would not be very useful for you because you won't be able to access the education and outreach portal. So you won't hurt our feelings if you want to hop off now. We'll give another reminder here in a little bit about that as well. Still seeing folks hop on, so we'll give everybody just a little bit more time until we see those numbers slow down a little bit. Right. It does look like folks are getting into the call. So again, just as a reminder, today's call is for local governments and service providers. If you're a producer or not providing direct education and outreach to your community, today's call probably won't be super useful for you. You won't be able to access the education and outreach portal. So get a little bit of time back in your day if you're not one of those folks. If you want to hang out and see how it all works, it's pretty cool. I'm actually really impressed with how it turned out. So you can also hang out and kind of see how things go and how access works. Uh, but yeah, we'll go ahead and get started here. So Taylor, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Alex. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are thrilled to have you here as we explore the Recycle On Education and Outreach portal. For those of you who are new to these webinars, we have recordings of our introductory sessions from last year, as well as the batched educational material review webinars from January, February, and March. If you're interested in a deep dive into how we developed the educational materials that are available in the portal, you can watch these webinars recordings at your convenience. Lydia will drop a link in the chat for you now, so feel free to bookmark that page and check out any recordings you may have missed. The purpose of this webinar is to service local governments and service providers with information about the education and outreach portal. Today, we'll be introducing the portal and reviewing the onboarding process. All right, we'll kick things off with introductions, and then we'll dive into what the E&O portal is and how it ties into the educational materials we've all been working on. We'll cover onboarding into the E&O portal, including creating an account, accessing and verifying community profile information, viewing and downloading educational materials, printing the educational materials, navigating to the FAQ page, and understanding how end user support for the portal will work. Finally, we'll review the next steps following this webinar, including the timeline for the next E&O portal webinar. Before we get started, let's go over some logistics for today. The chat is open and we'd love for attendees to let us know who's here. However, if you have a question, please use the Q&A function. This will help us address questions as we go along, and we have a lot to cover today. We have many subject matter experts here to help answer your questions. So again, for any questions or comments, please use the Q&A section, which is separate from the chat. We have a lot of team members on the call today, and I'll first hand it over to Alex with Circular Action Alliance to begin our introductions.
Excellent. Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Taylor. Today, like I said, is very exciting. The E&O portal has been a lot of work. It's all mostly been behind the scenes. You haven't seen all of the time and energy that's been put into it. And so hopefully the outcome is worth it. And I hope you all agree that it's a pretty neat tool. Before we hop into the webinar, I just want to introduce you to the Oregon team. These are the folks that you can ask questions of. This team has a deep understanding of the Oregon recycling and waste system and is putting that knowledge to work. If you have questions for these folks, you can find their contact information on circularactionalliance.org/Oregon under the leadership link at the top of the page. For education and outreach, your main contacts are going to be myself and Jerry Morales, the communication specialist here in Oregon. And you can reach out to us directly with any questions, or you can email oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org, and I'll drop that into the chat as well. I'll turn it back over to you, Taylor.
All right, thanks, Alex. For anyone that is not familiar with the Recycling Partnership, we pride ourselves on being a team of experts, practitioners, and thought leaders with real-world experience who are delivering on our mission to build a better recycling system. And we have several folks with us again today to help us run the show and answer questions that you'll be interacting with. With that, I'll hand it over to Lydia to introduce herself.
Hi, thanks, Taylor. Yeah, excited to be here. My name is Lydia Keenan. I'm the Strategy and Innovation Manager at the Recycling Partnership. So I support the strategy and development of our digital tools, as well as led the project management work for the Education Outreach Portal. And then I'll pass it to Kevin.
Hi, everyone. Excited to welcome you into the Hub. My name is Kevin Goolsby. I'm a data analytics coordinator, and I'm just here to answer any questions you have in the chat. So I'll just be responding to your Q&A. So make sure you ask questions, and we can help you with helpful information. Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia and Kevin. Hello again, everyone. My name is Taylor Sorensen, and I am a Community Program Manager with the Recycling Partnership. I'm here on behalf of CAA to assist with education and outreach efforts, specifically to help share about our education and outreach portal that is located on the Recycling Partnership's Recycling Program Solutions Hub. Now you've heard who we are, and we'd love to get to know each of you a bit more and learn who is with us today. I see a few folks have already done so, but it's that time to jump into the chat. If you haven't yet, please let us know who you are, what community or organization you're representing, your role, and share your favorite emoji. Awesome. Thanks for letting us know who's here with us today. All right. Now let's dive in. We'll start with an overview of what the Education and Outreach Portal is and how it relates to the engagement work you've done so far. As a reminder, if you want more detail on the educational materials and the process of how they were developed, make sure to watch the recordings of our previous education and outreach webinars if you've missed them. Lydia will drop a link to find the recordings in the chat one more time for folks who may have not been able to join right on the hour. All right. Here is a high-level overview of the Education and Outreach, or the E&O portal, and its purpose. Before I dive in, I want to acknowledge that in Oregon, there are quite a few portals in use. So for the sake of clarity, during this presentation, whenever I refer to the portal, I'm specifically talking about the E&O portal. Now, as I'm sure you all know, CAA and the partnership have collaborated with you to develop customizable education and outreach materials that are tailored for Oregon residents. The goal of the E&O portal is to support and streamline outreach efforts by local governments and service providers across the state. It allows you to tailor educational materials to local conditions and to distribute them through your existing channels, ensuring that all stakeholders have access to high quality and customizable resources. The portal is housed within the partnership's Recycling Program Solutions Hub and is available to Oregon local governments and service providers. As I just mentioned, the portal is built on the partnership's Recycling Program Solutions Hub, also known as the RPS Hub. Let me explain a little bit more about the RPS Hub and the source of its data. The RPS Hub is powered by the Partnership's National Recycling Database, which compiles community data from several sources, which include the U.S. Census 2022 American Community Survey, public recycling program websites, state recycling information, and verified community representatives like yourself. The RPS Hub centralizes data from over 9,000 community programs, covering more than 97% of the U.S. population. By leveraging this extensive data, the portal allows you to easily customize educational materials based on your accepted materials lists, ensuring that your outreach efforts are both accurate and effective. Now that you have some background on what the Education and Outreach Portal is, I want to move into how we can onboard everyone into the portal, going through that process step by step. All right, first, to create an account, you'll need to go to community.recyclingpartnership.org/recycleon-Oregon. If you do not yet have an account, you'll need to click Sign Up. Here, you will be required to input your email address, password, name, job, title, company, industry, and state. After you sign up, you will receive an automated email asking you to confirm your account. Some of you may have been pre-registered by CAA. CAA sent an email and a form out to request pre-registration, and that was available on the Recycle On website until May 1st. If this is true for you, you will be required to reset your password the first time you log in. However, if you already had an account in the RPS Hub before the portal launched, you do not need to reset your password. After you have received access and have logged into the portal, the next step is to request access to your community or communities. If you are pre-registered, you will already have access to your community, and you will see this upon logging in. Having access to your community allows you to update community profile information, which powers the educational materials in the E&O portal. Requesting access can be done in 4 easy steps, which we will go through in detail. Step 1, click on the Your Communities tab located on the left menu bar of the page as shown here. On this page, you will see your community profiles. Step 2, to get started, click on the Add Community button as shown here. Step 3, after clicking the Add Community button, you'll be brought to this page where you will then start typing the name of your municipality into the search bar. After you've typed the name and selected the city, it will show up underneath the Your Access requests. Here you can see the community is populated in the Your Access requests. Before you can submit the request, you will be required to populate the requested role and role description fields. For requested role, please select either owner, editor, or viewer. There is no limit to the number of owners, editors, or viewers per community, and I will go through the difference of each one shortly. If you're unsure of what level of access you should request, reach out to either your manager or CAA. For the role description, please describe your role as it relates to the community recycling program. For instance, sustainability coordinator, recycling coordinator, program manager, service provider, etc. This information will be used to help inform CAA and community owners as they review requests. An owner role is intended for the primary contact for the community and has full administrative access. This includes managing team members and overseeing content. Owners are typically responsible for maintaining structure and ensuring proper access levels. Owners have full access to update and verify community profile information. Owners are qualified to manage program data and information such as accepted materials lists and collection details. They can verify data and submit and rescind data update requests. Owners can approve or reject all user requests for their community. They also have the ability to update user roles or remove access. We will go through this process in more depth later on. Owners can create, modify, and delete customizable education materials. Owner roles are also the only ones who can place print orders with CAA. This process will be shared by CAA later on in this webinar. Again, there are no limits to the number of owners per community. An editor role is intended for team members who actively contribute to projects but do not need to manage user access. Editors have full access to update and verify community profile information. Editors are qualified to manage program data and information such as accepted materials lists and collection details. They can verify data and submit and rescind data update requests. Editors are not approved to manage user access. Editors can create, modify, and delete content for dynamic collateral, but cannot place print orders with CAA. There are no limits to the number of editors per community. And lastly, we have the viewer role. A viewer role is really ideal for staff who need to stay informed but are not involved in editing or managing materials. Viewers have full access to view community profile information. Viewers can view the status of existing data update requests, but cannot verify data or submit or rescind data update requests. Viewers are not approved to manage user access. Viewers can view all dynamic collateral created for their community, but they cannot delete, edit, or duplicate, and they cannot create new projects. Again, there is no limit to the number of viewers per community. All right, so once you have entered all of that required information, you are ready to move on to step 4, submitting your request. To do this, click the dark blue Submit Request button. Your access request will then be reviewed and approved or rejected by the existing community owner. The existing community owner may be local government staff, a service provider, or CAA staff. You will see a banner at the top of the E&O portal page with the status of your access request. Here you can see the yellow banner, which is shown during the review process. That banner then turns to that blue-green color after the request has been accepted. Community owners can approve access requests to their community or communities by navigating to the Access Management tab in the menu bar. If you need to approve a request but change the role, for instance, if someone requested an owner role but should have an editor role, you can easily do so by expanding the user request and selecting Assign a different role. You can toggle to the appropriate role as demonstrated here. We recommend sending an email to the new user to confirm their access request was approved. If CAA is the approver, they will be sending an email. Community owners also have the ability to edit or revoke access for already approved members. In the Access Management tab, community owners will be able to see all active members. In the Access Management tab, you can change access levels or remove access from users as shown here. All right, now that you have access to your community or communities, you will be ready to review, update, and verify your community's profile information. Once you are logged into the portal, click on the Your Communities page located in the menu bar. You should see your newly added community listed here. If you have access to a large number of communities, you can use the search bar to find your programs to review the community data. Click on the drop-down arrow as highlighted here. After you select that drop-down, your program data will be visible. Review each section carefully. There are 6 sections in total, which include general information, single family, multifamily, drop-off, program outputs, and census data. As a reminder, the partnership has populated this data from our National Recycling Database, which is sourced from the U.S. Census 2022 American Community Survey, public recycling websites, state recycling information, and data updates submitted by verified community representatives within the RPS Hub. Here is what the general information section looks like. As you scroll through this page, each section will be visible. Here is what the single-family curbside collection data will look like. Next, you will see the multifamily on-property collection section. And then drop off. As you are reviewing each section, you will notice a verify and request to edit buttons, and we will discuss how to request edits and verify data shortly. Lastly, you will see information on program outputs and census data. If there is no information available, you will receive a request and edit button instead of a verify button, like what is shown under program outputs. Regarding census data, we are currently using again the U.S. Census 2022 American Community Survey data. This data is not editable, but if something looks off, you are able to report an issue. After your review, if you notice a program listed that your municipality does not offer, such as drop-off collection, simply click the green Verify No Program button. Additionally, if you find a program missing, say multifamily collection, you can click the Add a Multifamily Program button to then include that information. Also, after your review, if you see information that needs to be updated, click the Request and Edit button shown here. Clicking that button will expand that section, which then allows you to directly input any edits needed. As you're entering data, orange reminders will appear below, prompting you to submit your changes. Once your edits are complete, don't forget to click the green Submit Changes button. You cannot edit more than one section at once, and helpful messages will pop up if you are missing required or conditional information, such as your recycling program must have at least one accepted material. You will also see tags indicating if a material is required for collection under the Oregon USCL and/or at an Oregon Pro Depot, as shown on the screen. The Recycling Partnership will review all data requests, and you will receive an email notification once your request has been accepted. After you receive the email notification that your data request has been approved, please log back into the portal and navigate to the Your Communities page. Review the updated information, and if everything looks correct, click the green Verify button. Additionally, if your community's information is accurate upon entering the portal, you can verify it right away by clicking the Verify button for each section. After verifying each section, including general information, single-family curbside, multifamily, and drop-off, you will see a green verified box below your community's name. I have examples of the 4 different statuses your communities could have. Not yet locally verified, meaning none of the sections have been verified. Partially verified, meaning some sections have been verified, but not all. Re-verification needed, meaning a structural change has been made to the National Recycling Database and a re-verification is required, such as adding a new field. And lastly, verified, meaning all sections have been verified, and that is what we are aiming for. Verification is very important because updating and verifying information ensures the accuracy of the database and allows access to the customizable templates in the E&O portal. Now let's dive into the core purpose of the E&O portal, accessing and editing the education and outreach materials. Today we're going to focus exclusively on accessing and downloading materials. On our next webinar on June 3rd, we will be entirely dedicating to showing you how to customize the dynamic templates within the education and outreach portal. All collateral is available in the Educational Materials tab within the Education and Outreach portal, except for languages in Hindi and Arabic, to allow for some final transcreation assessment. They will be available as soon as possible. We have developed two different types of collateral, static and dynamic. And before we dig into those, I want to quickly clarify the difference. It's important for all users to know that all educational materials were available for download in the Education and Outreach portal starting on May 16th. But from May 16th to June 16th, we are working on making dynamic templates in the Education and Outreach portal. Currently, all assets are downloadable. Some assets are downloadable as static files, and others are downloadable as editable files. This designation is dependent on the educational material, and we will go over a list shortly of each type of template. Static templates are downloadable files that, depending on the file format, can still be edited, such as press releases, newsletter articles, etc., as well as truly static assets that are not editable, such as the Community Education and Outreach Playbook or the Terminology Spreadsheet. Dynamic templates have fields that are editable in the portal and have pre-populated fields based on your accepted materials lists. These templates will be launching between now and June 16th. Currently, the USCL Recycling Guide is available to customize in the portal. We will have a separate webinar training again on June 3rd to discuss how to access and use those dynamic templates. While we are building out the dynamic templates, you can still download the materials and customize them in InDesign. If you need any files edited before June 16th and need assistance with editing the files within the InDesign software, please email caa@oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org. All right, now, again, to find these educational materials, you will need to navigate to the Educational Materials tab in the menu bar, which is located right below your Communities tab. Here is a list of all of the dynamic templates. They include the USCL Recycling Guide, which has a dynamic template available currently within the portal, as well as the brochure mailer, decal, poster or large sign, info card mailer, door hanger, cart tag with materials, as well as an oops cart tag, a bill insert, and a bill insert. Again, these are already available for download in the portal and can be edited via InDesign. However, from now until June 16th, more files will become available for you to customize directly in the portal, and we will cover how to do that in detail during the June 3rd webinar. And then here is a list of all of the static materials. They include the Community Education and Outreach Playbook, the Messaging Timeline Guide, a newsletter article, press release, social media toolkit, material sets, which includes icons, additional material images, individual recyclable images collection, as well as a cart label, terminology spreadsheet, and QR codes for the Recycle On Oregon website. Today, we will be sharing how you can access and download these materials. Again, just as a reminder, to view these, you will click on the menu bar and into the Educational Materials tab. This will open the Educational Materials page as shown here. All of the materials you've been working hard to review and finalize are accessible here. You will see a list of the materials where you can either download or customize. For today's purpose, we are going to focus on how to download the materials. Download takes you to a new page to select the languages and download the materials. Customize takes you to the dynamic templates. Customize is not displayed for materials that only have a static download, such as the Community Education and Outreach Playbook. Once you have edited a dynamic template, it will be located in your projects. One other thing to note about dynamic templates before we move on, and we'll cover this again on June 3rd, but I wanted to mention it now, is that if you see this Customize button grayed out on the USCL Recycling Guide, it's because you need to verify the required community profile information before you can customize your materials. Once you have verified your information, that button will become clickable and you can then customize that template within the E&O portal. All right, moving back to these static materials. To download, simply click the green download button, which will then take you to a new page where you can select the files you would like to download. This is what that page will look like. Again, for collateral without a customized button, click the download to access all available files. For that material, that new window will open as shown here. Once this window is open, you will then choose the files you want to download by clicking a check mark in the upper right-hand corner of each box. Then click the download at the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and the files will then be saved to your computer. The type of collateral will determine the file format. For instance, a press release will be in a doc file format, while a cart label will be in a PDF. Depending on the collateral type, you will also be able to select different languages for download. Once you've downloaded the necessary files, navigate back to the Education and Outreach portal. Now I'll pass it over to Alex, who will explain how the printing materials process with CAA works.
Excellent. Thank you, Taylor. We're seeing lots of folks get registered, so thanks for doing that. We'll get you verified or approved as quickly as possible following the webinar. So seeing this all come together is very exciting. Thank you for TRP for all their work on the E&O portal and for all of you on the call to getting the materials ready and your feedback and input to get them to this point. This is the first of a kind effort, and we're all learning together and we'll continue to improve over time. So if you do have feedback, please let us know. On the next slide, we'll outline the current process for getting E&O materials printed by CAA. Taylor, if we can pop over to, there we are. So there's 3 steps to getting your materials printed. First, you'll log into the E&O portal, you'll find and edit the materials you need, and that's what Taylor just kind of showed you how to get in there. For communities launching first, if you need editing support, again, our team here at CAA can help you with that. Just email oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org. We can help you with that. The second step is once you've customized your materials, you'll download them to your computer. Lastly, you'll send an email with the attached files to the oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org. Make sure to add your name, organization, phone number, where you'd like the materials shipped or delivered to, and the ideal date you would want them. And don't forget to include the number of items you want for each material. Once CAA receives your emailed requests, we'll review the materials to look for any issues. We'll confirm the quantities requested are in line with the printing guidelines, which you'll be able to find in the FAQ section of the E&O portal. We'll confirm your request and let you know when it's been sent to the printer. The printer, whose company name is Imagine, will then print and ship the materials directly to the address requested in the order. If there are any issues with the materials, we ask that you let CAA know within 3 business days so we can address it quickly and get that fixed for you. Some communities may choose to create self-created E&O collateral. CAA may cover a percentage of the cost associated with the portion of the collateral focused on recycling if the material meets a minimum set of standards, which again, you can find those outlined in the FAQ section of the E&O portal. These standards include things like using the CAA created graphics and terminology, including the Recycle on Oregon logo, and several other items outlined in that printing guidelines document. We will always follow up with an email tomorrow that includes a link to these guidelines as well as a link to this recording. And as always, you can always reach out to myself, my team, via that oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org. All right, back to you, Taylor.
Thanks, Alex. All right, we've now made it through the bulk of the onboarding process into the portal. You may have some questions. Luckily, we're going to be discussing the frequently asked questions page and end user support next. But in all seriousness, as a reminder, if you do have questions, you're welcome to use the Q&A function as we're going along. And I believe we will definitely have some time at the end for some questions as well. Okay, to navigate to the frequently asked questions page, click on the FAQ located at the bottom of the menu bar on the left-hand side of your browser. This page was developed by the partnership with the help of CAA and includes questions and answers such as, what is Recycle-On Oregon? What is the Education and Outreach Portal? How do I customize materials? How do I contact support if needed? If you need to contact support, please email oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org. In your email, please make sure you include your name, the name of your community, a summary of the issue or question, any screenshot or attachments that could provide additional context if needed. CAA will escalate the issue to the partnership if they are unable to resolve. And this information, again, is also going to be located within the FAQ page. So no worries, I'm trying to remember any of these details. Okay, we've covered a lot today. We've introduced you into the Education and Outreach portal and guided you through on the onboarding process, including how to create an account, review and update and verify your community profile information. We've explored how to view and download those static educational materials, as well as reviewing the FAQ and end user support. Now let's go over the next steps to ensure you're prepared to take full advantage of the E&O portal. Here is the Education and Outreach rollout schedule for the portal. Let's take a look at where we are, how we got here, and what's coming up next. The portal officially launched just last Friday on May 16th, and today we are excited to host our first webinar on accessing the Education and Outreach portal. Next up, mark your calendars for webinar number 2, which will be taking place on June 3rd, where we'll dive into customizing collateral with the dynamic templates. These dynamic templates will become available in the Education and Outreach portal between now and June 16th. Finally, the RMA implementation kicks off on July 1st, when communities will begin accepting the USCL. Here is our save the date for webinar 2, customizing collateral with dynamic templates. This webinar will take place on June 3rd from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Lydia will drop a link to the registration for this webinar in the chat. If you cannot attend, all webinars for the portal will be recorded and added to the FAQ page of the portal. All right, that wraps up all of our content for today. For the next steps, if you don't yet have an account, please create one and request access to your communities. Then review and verify your community information and start exploring the educational materials. Don't forget to join us for the June 3rd webinar at 10 a.m. where we're discussing how to access and customize those dynamic templates. If you have any questions, please reach out to CAA. All right, thank you all so much for being here.
Excellent. Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah.
I think we can probably drop the slides off. You can see some folks and answer some questions. Again, if folks have questions, feel free to put that into the Q&A. We've answered a few, and so I just want to make sure that folks do see those answers. One of those is, are these collected material types, the things that you're updating there to get verified in your community profile, reflective of the collections after July 1st or current? And the data that you're putting into the portal, CAA plans to use some of that to help with community education. So it should reflect the current situation. So if right now you're not collecting the USCL, but on July 1st, you're going to start doing that, or July 6th, or whenever, please go back into the portal and update those then so that that information is as updated as possible. Again, that also feeds into the partnership's chatbot. So if folks end up there and ask their chatbot a question, this information will help it answer that correctly about your community. The other question was, how long will it take to verify all the jurisdictions from the Your Community page? And it kind of depends on how many changes are being requested. And TRP and CAA will work to get that verified as quickly as possible. And I think Lydia might have a quick tip for everybody as well on that one.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, I didn't put this in the Q&A, but if you are like a community owner or need to update information for more than 10 communities, which I know can sometimes be the case, you oversee a lot of programs, please reach out to us and CAA with the email provided and just let us know. We can help upload a lot of information sort of in bulk using a spreadsheet template. It's not preferred. It can take just a little bit longer just because you have to input it all in a spreadsheet. But if you are, running into challenges where there's just a lot of information to change and it's taking a lot of time, please don't hesitate to reach out. We have options to support that.
Great. Thanks, Lydia. Looking at some other questions that have come in, there's a question about what is the turnaround time for getting materials printed? It kind of depends on how many orders are coming in, how much is being printed. These do need to be shipped, so keep that in mind depending on the speed of shipping. So if you are looking at needing materials for those July launches, if you're planning to switch to the USCL in July, and I would say don't wait until the June 16th where everything is available in the dynamic templates on the portal. You can either download the InDesign documents and edit those if you have access to InDesign. If you don't, contact our team at that oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org, and we can help with those updates. So you can let us know what materials you need, what they need to be edited to have access to, and we can work together. So shoot us an email, let us know that you'll be switching over early, and we can set up a time to have that conversation and get those help you create those materials so that you have them in time for those July launches. If you have a little bit more time and you're not looking to switch until maybe later, maybe in the fall or August or something like that, then I would say go ahead and hang on until those materials are dynamic or editable within the portal because you have a little bit more time there. The next question is they're asking if we have guidance on the permissions for local governments between those owners, the editors, and the viewers. If there's graphic staff or marketing and outreach staff, who should have what? The owner, you shouldn't make everybody an owner. You should have, a limited number of folks who kind of oversee. So if you have a person who oversees all of your education and outreach, that would be a great person to be the owner. And then the other folks could be editors or viewers. Keep in mind, not everybody needs access to this. So, if there's limited folks that you just kind of want to streamline that, that's great. The owner is also the person who can order materials. So think through that. If you as a community outsource a lot of your education and outreach to your hauler, maybe they are the ones that should be the owner and they can make those orders. There is a cap on how much you can order. It's not just a free-for-all, millions of different parts and pieces. And we want to remind folks that there will be updates to the USCL and some of these materials as well as we work through some of the streamlining and improving over time. So keep that in mind. You can always come back and order more as long as it's within those guidelines. And so think through and maybe have those conversations with your team or your haulers to talk through who should have what access. And if there's ever a question of who has what access in your community, feel free to reach out to us at CAA. We are the owners of everybody, so we can see all of that and help you get those aligned properly as needed. I'm not seeing any other questions, so hopefully that means that everybody is understanding how this is working. Again, we'll get those requests we see that keep coming in, which is great. So go ahead and get signed up for the E&O portal. Get your team. Again, if you work with your haulers or somebody else, make sure that those folks have access and know about it. And once you get in there, you can kind of play around with that recycling guide, customizable dynamic template. It's very cool. I was very impressed with it. So we'll get those cleared up. There was another question that came in. For questions on materials, do you want us to direct all of those questions to the Oregon.recycleon@circularaction email? Yes, please. So anything E&O related, education and outreach related, if it's related to the templates or getting materials printed or access, any of that, email us directly. That will go straight to my team, and we're the ones that can kind of access that. So again, that's Oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org. And yeah, the printing guidelines, there's a question about when those will be coming out. So we'll follow up with an email with the recording of this webinar, which will also be posted on the circularactionalliance.org website in our webinar archive, but also include a link to those printing guidelines as well. So yeah, we'll get those there, and that will also be in the FAQ section of the E&O portal. We'll give folks just a couple more minutes to ask any questions. Great overview, Taylor and TRP. Again, big thanks to them. The portal turned out really, really good, and we are excited to see that move forward and see more of those materials being editable or dynamic within that portal there. So another question came in. How do you determine the percentage of reimbursement? Good question. This is outlined in those printing guidelines. Kind of generally, we can talk about, like, for an example, let's say the city of Twin Peaks was creating a brochure that they wanted to have information on garbage, compost, and recycling. It's just a front page single. We'll keep our math easy for this one. Each section took up about a third of the brochure or the flyer that they were giving out. If all of the guidelines were met, the reimbursement would cover about a third of that, because 1/3 of it is about recycling, and the other 2/3 would be about recycling or compost and garbage. So it's the section that is educating on the uniform statewide collection list. And again, there's some needs that need to be met there, such as using the Recycle-On logo, the photorealistic illustrations, the terminology, those kind of things. And those are all outlined in those printing guidelines. So if you are wanting to create your own materials, reach out to us. We will help you kind of navigate that. And I should also point out, if you didn't see them in batch 1 materials when those came out, but CAA also created, with the help of TRP, some materials outside of recycling. So if you want all of your materials to look the same, those photorealistic illustrations are created for additional waste streams. So there's some on composting, there's some on contamination, there's some for garbage, and you could use all of those within your materials. That doesn't mean we're going to cover the cost of the garbage or the compost section, but we did hear that feedback during the development of the photorealistic illustrations that folks were interested in having some more of those materials. So we created those, and those are available for download right now in the E&O portal. All right. Looks like we were able to answer folks' questions for now. Again, if you have questions or you're going to be launching, I think July 1st is like 43, 42 days away. It's just around the corner. Very excited. It's rushing up on us, but feel free to reach out to us Again, the website or the email address is there in the chat, oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org. Dave threw a question really quick in the chat. Coverage is limited to printing, not design or postage. That is correct. CAA's responsibility is to cover the education and outreach printing for uniform statewide collection list education, not the printing or design or anything like that. So we've created a lot of materials for you and think they're pretty darn good. You all provided great feedback on those. So if you want to use those materials, they're there for your use. All right. Without seeing any other questions, thank you, Taylor. Thank you, TRP. Thank you, all of you, for joining today. We can give everybody just a few minutes back in their day before their next meeting.
Thanks, Alex. We'll see you
Thanks,
all
everybody.
on June 3rd.
Yeah, great. Take care. Bye-bye.